As you may have already predicted, the used vehicle-prone shopper group also contains the highest percentage of prodigious accumulators of wealth. This group is significantly more likely to agree with this statement. Plus, our household operates on a fairly well-thought-out annual budget. To budget properly, one must keep records of disbursements. Here, again, the used vehicle-prone shopper is more fastidious than any of the other types. More of them agree that. Plus, I know how much our family spends each year for food, clothing, and shelter. Used vehicle-prone shoppers are also bargain-oriented when it comes to buying clothing. Their score of 145 was the highest overall. See table 4-4. A significantly higher percentage agreed with this statement. Plus, I never bought a suit that was not on sale, discounted. Used vehicle-prone shoppers are significantly more likely to be discount store patrons than other types of vehicle buyers. This is evident from their positive response to the following statement. I often buy my suits at factory outlets. In addition, they are significantly more frequent shoppers at Sears than any of the other types of millionaire vehicle buyers. This group, on average, spends considerably less for a variety of items. As discussed in Chapter 2, we asked all our millionaire respondents to tell us the most they ever paid for: 1. A wristwatch, 2. A suit of clothing, and 3. A pair of shoes. Once again, the used vehicle-prone shopper demonstrated his frugality. Members of this group spent only 59% as much as the other millionaires in our survey for a wristwatch, 83% for a suit, and 88% for a pair of shoes. The majority of people do not have the ability to increase their income significantly. Yet income is a positive correlate of wealth. What, then, is our message? If you cannot increase your compensation significantly, become wealthy some other way. Do it defensively. This is how most of the used vehicle-prone shoppers did it. They fully inoculated themselves from contracting the high consumption lifestyle that many of their neighbors adopted. More than 70% of their neighbors earn as much or more than they earn, but fewer than. So percent of their neighbors have a net worth of $1 million or more. Most of these millionaires' high-income, low-net worth neighbors make the wrong assumption. They assume that by focusing their energy on generating high incomes, they will automatically become affluent. And they play excellent offense in this regard. Most are positioned in the top 3 or 4% or higher of the income distribution for all U.S. households. Most look the part of millionaires, yet they are not wealthy. They play lousy defense. We have stated many times the belief of countless millionaires who have told us it's much easier in America to earn a lot than it is to accumulate wealth. Why is this the case? Because we are a consumption-oriented society, and the high-income producing non-millionaire neighbors of used vehicle-prone shoppers are among the most consumption-oriented people in America. Case studies. Mr. J. S., CPA, new vehicle-prone dealer loyalist. Mr. J. S. is one of 3 senior partners in a small but highly productive CPA firm. He is also a millionaire. Mr. J. S. enjoys buying new vehicles and is completely turned off by the idea of buying used cars. To him, owning a used vehicle is like wearing someone else's old clothes. Mr. J. S. is a dealer loyalist in part because his time is more valuable than shopping for a so-called big discount. In addition, Mr. J. S. buys from a dealer with whom he does business. Again, networking and reciprocity are major factors underlying the motor vehicle purchasing habits of many new vehicle-prone dealer loyalists. How did Mr. J. S. acquire the motor vehicle dealer as his accounting client? By referring more than a dozen of his clients to the owner of the dealership before ever selling the dealer any of his accounting services. Previously, the owner had dealt with another accounting firm for years before realizing that this accounting firm had never referred one of its clients to him. Now the dealer and Mr. J.S. have a strong reciprocal bond. One of the great advantages of being a self-employed business owner is the ability to leverage your organization's patronage habits. In the case of Mr. J.S., he also leverages his influence over several of his clients. He is the dealer opinion leader for many of his clients. Mr. J.S. makes it clear to each client he refers that the dealer is also a client. The dealer, in turn, is likely to give favorable service and price concessions to these clients. Over the past 10 years, Mr. J.S. has essentially sold more than 36 motor vehicles for his client, the car dealer. At the same time, the dealer has expended many thousands of dollars for account ING services from Mr. J.S. Mr. T.F. stockbroker, used vehicle-prone dealer loyalis. Mr. T.E. is a stockbroker and a millionaire who enjoys purchasing late-model, used, luxury automobiles. After purchasing several models from the same dealer, Mr. T.F. had an idea. He would make a personal sales call to the owner of the dealership. Mr. T.F. first reminded the owner that he had purchased 3 cars from him in the past 5 years and had referred several of his clients to the dealer. Mr. T.F. then asked the dealer if he would reciprocate by giving him some of his investment business. The dealer's response was very frank. He told Mr. T.F. that he sold vehicles to dozens of stockbrokers and that he could not do business with all of them. Mr. T.F. understood the dealer's position, so he made a counter proposal. He asked if the dealer would be so kind as to give him the names of his top 5 suppliers. Assume that you were asked to nominate the suppliers of the year in this state. Who would be on the top of your list? Who put the new roof on this place? Can I mention that you suggested I call him? The dealer did refer several of his key suppliers to Mr. T.F. Mr. T.F. still buys his vehicles from this dealer and makes referrals on his behalf. In turn, the dealer refers business to Mr. T.F. Author Tom Stanley sells Acar. Just before Christmas, I placed a classified ad in the local newspaper to sell my family's Acura Legend. Prior to doing so, I called our dealer. He advised me about the upper limit price I could anticipate receiving for the car, and that was the price that we advertised. I have always meticulously maintained our motor vehicles. Our leg end had nearly every conceivable option, including the so-called gold package. The car was always garaged. Our Acura dealer did all the prescribed maintenance and tune-up procedures. We even used Mobil 1 synthetic oil. The car had a good set of Michelin MXV4 tires with a few thousand miles on them. And, perhaps most important, we had purchased the car new. My classified ad outlined many of these characteristics. Allow me to profile some of the characters who took the time to stop by and look over our car. Shopper 1, a senior marketing officer, female. She arrived driving an Infiniti 445. When I saw the car, I asked her why she was interested in a Legend, since her 445 appeared to be nearly new. She told me that the 445 was her husband's and that they had purchased it used nearly a year ago. In fact, she had just finished looking over previously owned Legends and Infinitis at several dealers. She made it very clear that her household had a used vehicle-oriented tie-in. The day she visited me, she had taken the afternoon off from work. It was not particularly loyal to any make of automobile, but she and her husband did prefer a narrow set of vehicles. These included Acura Legends, Infiniti Q45S, and the Lexus 400 series. She had a map of the Atlanta area and had marked the location of selected dealers and the addresses of private sellers. In this way, she made it very clear to me that she was well aware of many compelling opportunities It was obvious to me that this woman was very skilled in evaluating used cars. She immediately pointed to a small ding on the driver's door. She examined the interior, the engine compartment, and the car's sheet metal. Then she asked me why I had to sell the Legend. I responded by saying that my teenage children have an aversion to four-door sedans. To them, a Legend is well suited for middle-aged, unexciting people. Like their parents. They would much prefer even a well-used 4x4 sports utility vehicle or a sporty two-door number. She paused and reflected on my comments. Now that I think about it, I suspect she would have preferred another answer. She would have wanted me to say that I was selling the vehicle because of financial obligations. This would have put her in a much stronger bargaining position. Nonetheless, she attempted to negotiate a lower price. She asked, "What's the lowest you are willing to take for the car?" I responded by telling her if I don't sell it in 30 days, I will consider lowering the price. I then pointed to the portfolio in the front seat, which contained all the maintenance records, original window sticker, and so on. She turned around, got back in her husband's previously owned 445, and left. I never heard from her again. I am convinced that she found exactly what she was looking for, that is, a real deal on a late model, used vehicle from someone who was in a hurry to sell. Shopper 2, a vice president at a regional financial institution. Male, you may find it particularly interesting to learn this fellow's specific job title. He was vice president of the motor vehicle leasing department. I guess you could say he had an excellent understanding of the true value of motor vehicles. He also understood the relative advantages of buying versus leasing. It seems that this expert on leasing new vehicles spends his time searching for deals on used ones. Shopper 2 was also looking for a real deal. He was interested in several makes of quality Japanese cars, but, like Shopper 1, had no great loyalty to any specific make. He spent a considerable amount of time going over the maintenance and other records for the Acura. Then, he asked the same question Shopper 1 did, without you hitting me on the head. What is the least you would take for the Acura? I gave him the same answer I'd given Shopper 1. He also left. I am still waiting for his call. Shopper 3, a wealthy former business owner. Male. Shopper 3 was the most interesting of the people with whom I came into contact. When he called me, he mentioned that he was intending to drive his wife to a local shopping center. He asked about our location, which he found ideal relative to the shopping center. He and his wife arrived shortly after our phone conversation in a 5 Series BMW. The car looked like it had just come out of a showroom. So I asked him about his need to purchase the Acura. He informed me that the BMW was his wife's car. He then scrutinized the Acura from top to bottom. While he was doing so, I had an interesting conversation with his wife. She informed me that her husband had recently sold his share in a successful software operation. They were millionaires. Her husband still acted as a consultant to the organization, but now he had more time to do other things. She also told me that her husband had never purchased a new car in the 30 years that they had been married. Apparently, he is in a semi-constant search for real deals on automobiles. He is particularly prone to purchasing quality used Japanese and German vehicles. But he is absolutely never in a hurry to make such purchases. Like many people in the used vehicle-prone shopper group, he gets immense pleasure from finding good deals from private sellers with too much car, too little capital. I suspect that is why he spent time debriefing me. He asked me what I did for a living. He asked me how well my business was operating. Perhaps he had thought I was an out-of-work corporate executive. Why else would I be at home in the middle of the afternoon in my khaki pants and flannel shirt? I told him I was an author working on book number 4. Then he inquired about how well my other books were selling. Great, I answered. He then frowned and asked the question of questions, Would you be interested in knocking $1,500 off the asking price? Again, I responded, perhaps in 30 days if I don't sell it before then. I am still waiting to hear from him, too. He did seem impressed with the way I maintained automobiles, so just before he left, he asked if I intended to sell any of my other cars. He pointed to my high-performance 228 Camaro. I had to turn him down on that offer, too. Shopper 4, a school teacher, female. Isn't it interesting that a disproportionately high number of used car shoppers come from the ranks of teachers and professors? Shopper 4 called me late one Friday evening. When do weekend telephone rates go into effect? She had a battery of questions to ask me. After this intense debriefing, she informed me that she lived several hundred miles from Atlanta in cotton country. She said she was in the process of calling many of the people who had listed Acura Legends in the Atlanta classifieds. She promised to get back in touch with me the following Wednesday. She kept her promise and asked if I could fax her evidence that there were no outstanding liens on the vehicle. She also asked if it would be possible to have a more detailed list of the car's accessories. I faxed her the title and a copy of the original window sticker with prices and options. She then advised me that she planned to come to Atlanta that Friday and look at several vehicles that were for sale. She and her husband, a successful cotton farmer, arrived at our house on Friday. They were driving a late-model Nissan Maxima. The automobile appeared to be in excellent condition. Shopper 4 drove her husband and me around the community for about 20 utes, test driving the Acura. During that time, I had a chance to debrief them. Why did they drive all the way from cotton country? Why were they interested in buying a used vehicle? Aren't farmers supposed to be frugal? It seems that this couple shops for a late model, quality used Japanese vehicle every 2 or 3 years. They find the prices and availability significantly better in the big city. They are nearly 150 miles from the nearest Acura dealer. They buy cars like mine and resell them in 2 or 3 years in their rural community for close to what they paid for them.